Vietnamese War. How was the B-52 plane shot down? Foreigners or visitors to Vietnam often ask the question, how can Vietnam, a country with an area only 1/30th the size of the US, have an average income per capita of 120s, having fewer and less modern weapons could defeat America in the Vietnam War? In this episode we will explain this question by telling the story, how the B-52 aircraft, the invincible pride, the flying fortress of the US Air Force, was defeated in the sky of Hanoi. That failure pushed the United States to sign the Paris Agreement, which led to the withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam in 1973 and ultimately the complete unification of Vietnam in 1975. The B-52 is a strategic bomber, meaning it can carry nuclear bombs, with a fuselage length of 50 m, a height of 12.4 m and a wingspan of up to 56.4 m. The B-52 was the largest strategic bomber in the world at that time. Maximum takeoff weight is about 200 tons, including 32 tons of weapons. 1955 numbers state that the development cost of the B-52 program was $100 million or around $1.14 billion, adjusted for inflation. The Air Force says that the per unit cost of a B-52 Stratofortress was $9.28 million in 1962 or around $94 million today. Meanwhile, the B-52's opponent, the MiG-21 aircraft, only costs about $330,000. Today's converted price, or the price of a SAM missile, is $700,000. An untouchable aircraft. Because it is so expensive, every time it participates in a fight, the B-52 aircraft is very carefully protected. When participating in combat, each B-52 fighter normally has up to 17 F-4 and F-111 aircraft flying together to perform the task of protecting and jamming North Vietnam's radar system. If there are 2 to 3 B-52 aircraft in the battle, there will be more than 50 aircraft on guard and jamming missions. In December 1972, the B-52s really entered combat in the skies over Hanoi. However, since 1967, President Ho Chi Minh has seen through experience that wars, before signing an armistice agreement, often have to go through fierce battles in the skies over the capitals of those countries. In World War II was an air attack on the capital Berlin or Tokyo and Pyongyang, North Korea. Previously, since 1962, he advised the commander of the Vietnam Air Defense Force, General Phung Thai, to research the B-52 aircraft and prepare how to fight them, because sooner or later they would attack North Vietnam. That prediction has come true. Since 1965, the US has used B-52 aircraft in South Vietnam, but only at the end of 1972 did these aircraft actually launch attacks on the north. The goal of the campaign is, bring Vietnam back to the Stone Age. To shoot down a B-52 plane, the most important thing is that the radar system must catch the target on the screen. However, because the radar jamming system of B-52 plane and the escort aircraft's jamming system was too strong, in fact the Vietnamese military's screen was almost blank and nothing could be seen. And this means that firing missiles or using fighter jets against the B-52 is not feasible. The radar system is also easily fooled by B-52 escort aircraft. They often fly at the same speed and release zinc-coated paper bundles, so North Vietnam's radar system cannot distinguish between B-52 aircraft and escort fighters. That's why Americans believe that B-52 planes with their powerful jamming systems and flight tactics with dozens of escorting fighters are invulnerable and the war in the skies over Hanoi will only be leisurely stroll. However, any system, no matter how sophisticated, has its fatal weaknesses. And the Vietnamese military discovered that weakness, with the result that dozens of B-52 aircraft were knocked out in the sky over Hanoi. B-52 planes to attack Hanoi mainly depart from two directions, from Guam Island, it belongs to US, and from Thailand. In April 1972, the US mobilized up to 60 aircraft to attack Hanoi. This time, although up to 93 missiles left the launch pad, no aircraft crashed. North Vietnam tested a new method. When the B-52 plane appeared, they pressed the button pretending to launch the missile, but in reality, the missile did not leave the launch pad, only a control wave emitted. When the B-52 escort fighters caught the fake signals, they changed direction to avoid it, while the B-52 plane, because it was heavy, kept flying straight. And so, the Air Defense Force could distinguish between a B-52 and an F-4 fighter. Another discovery was that when the bomb shelter was opened to drop bombs, the space in the bunker allowed the radar to pick up very clear signals from the B-52 plane, which the fighters did not have it. In addition, they also discovered, when all radar systems were suddenly turned off and then turned on immediately, they detected the B-52 aircraft very clearly. And so, they applied a new tactic. When receiving the signal from the B-52 plane, the North Vietnamese Air Defense Force fired 2 missiles in parallel. One shot was aimed straight at the B-52 plane and the other was a headshot, about 1 kilometer away. As a result, both bombs crashed and the B-52 plane exploded in the sky over Hanoi. And this is the first time in the world that a B-52 aircraft was hit by a missile. North Vietnam's Air Defense Force used 3 forces to attack the B-52 aircraft: Soviet SAM-2 missiles, MiG-21 aircraft and anti-aircraft artillery. Among them, the missile force is the main force. MiG-21 aircraft and anti-aircraft artillery are secondary. MiG-21 is tasked with intercepting the B-52 from far distance that SAM-2 missiles cannot yet reach. On the other hand, when approaching the B-52, Vietnamese MiG-21 pilots flew at a very close range before firing. And this tactic was successful. There were 3 B-52 aircraft shot down by MiG-21, including 1 aircraft that MiG-21 crashed straight into like a suicide plane. The first pilot to shoot down a B-52 plane with a MiG-21 plane was Pham Tuan. He was later awarded the title of hero and became the first Asian to fly into space by a spaceship built by the Soviet Union in 1980. The US campaign to attack Hanoi on Christmas Eve 1972, also known as the Linebacker 2 operation using B-52s, failed. Up to 81 aircraft were shot down, including 34 B-52 aircraft. Vietnam's victory led to the signing of the Paris Agreement on January 27, 1973, stipulating that the US withdrew all troops from southern Vietnam and then was the unification of Vietnam in 1975.